Yo, from Signal Flow Studios, you are listening to the Featured Presentation Podcast, where I interview the featured artists on my newest song. Who am I, you might ask? Well, I'm singer, songwriter, rapper, producer ZuP from Cleveland, Ohio. I've been in the Cleveland music scene for what feels like forever, and my most recent album, For Me, won Scene Magazine's Best Local Album of 2023. But enough about me. Today we're going to be talking about my song Vintagesoul, which is produced by me and Chris Williams. It's on the aforementioned For Me album. And my featured guest today is not a featured artist on the song, but he did film the music video. He also films behind the scenes stuff for like studio sessions, band practices, and, shows. And he's my bestest friend in the whole world. Makes a noise for Third Eye Wolf Productions, Greg Ferraro.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Well, thank you for joining me today because people don't know this, but I know this. You don't like this shit.
I am behind the camera for so many reasons.
Yes, so I appreciate you. When I asked you to do this, I was like, please do this, because I thought it'd be cool to talk about filming and, all these other behind-the-scenes stuff that people might not really realize what goes into stuff.
Right.
And then I was like, he's going to say no. Greg's going to say no for sure.
But little did you know that I had already thought, maybe at some point we should do something.
And you did.
I know people see me around.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you've seen this guy before. If you've been to shows or just been around, he's the man.
Come find me at the merch table next show.
Yeah, that's right. I should have put that in the intro too. And he does merch. So yeah, thank you for being here. And you know how this shit goes. Let the people know a little bit about Greg.
All right. Well, as this man already said, you're my best friend. And years ago when you were like, hey, I want to start doing music again, I was looking for that creative outlet. And I've been following you around ever since with the camera, since day one that you hopped back in. But before that, I was doing, right out of college, I was doing videos with my man Tommy G, if you're out there.
Shout out.
Genius Films.
Shout
did
out.
A bunch of music videos. All around the scene, a lot of concert coverage. Hopefully you guys saw some stuff. And then once that ended, I lived the adult life for a while.
Same.
Yeah, we're on the same period, which is really nice. Nice circulation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I was looking for that creative outlet, which you provided for me. And here I am.
Sorry. So how did you and Tommy G decide to start a film company together and call it Genius Films?
All right, so Tommy G is another one of my best friends since we were in first or second grade. That's my boy. And we were at Akron University together. And before we were doing music, we had a band, Jump the Flight. Nobody's ever heard of us. It's perfectly fine. But we were doing music, just the two of us, and then it was a little trio thing. So along with that, we did all the production of it. We did all the video stuff of it, everything. And I went to school for media production and photography as a minor. My interest has always more been behind a camera. Mm-hmm. I feel
not in front of a microphone.
Not in front of a microphone doing interviews. Okay. I hated being on stage when I was in a band. I had to be the worst front man that anybody's ever seen. When we were in a song, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Everything in between the songs, hated it.
So the downtime in between the songs, you don't
Which
like.
is what we had Kyle G for. Nobody will ever know.
All right. Slim.
No.
Oh, that's a different G.
No. Yeah, it's a lot of G's going on.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So, yeah, I always wanted to be behind the camera. I feel like ever since I was younger, when I hear a song, I can instantly see what I would make as a video. Even if I already knew that it had a music video, I feel like when I listen to music, I'm already picturing these pictures in my head. Or if I'm reading a book or listening to an audio book or whatever, I'm making it into something in my head. That's how it's been since I was really young. So I always knew that that's something I really like doing, is being behind the camera, storyboarding, creating things that way.
I was about to ask you, before you started filming, did you ever draw stuff out?
No,
first?
I can't draw. I can't draw. The fact that I can't draw makes me not want to draw anymore. But in college and class and stuff, there's certain assignments, and you have to learn how to storyboard and do things like that. So, like, yeah, I have storyboarding. See, you could draw stick figures. It doesn't really matter. I can do stuff like that, but no, I've never drawn anything out to any sort of real artistic value.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
So you and I, how we met each other, I've been talking to some people about this recently, just like in conversation. But I know I have the story semi-incorrect, I think, or I'm missing pieces, right? So, like, correct me if I'm wrong. We met at the Outpost in Kent, correct?
Yes, which I originally forgot.
Okay.
I thought we met... Dude, I don't know. I might not have been at that Outpost show. I swear I was.
I swear you
I
were
thought
too.
we met at your album release, and that was the first time I actually met you face to face, was when we covered the first album release. But there's that video.
I know.
From the Outpost, and because that was Swerve and Slim D, which is Tommy G's little brother. And you were on the show as well.
And so was Scene. He was young Scene back then, but now he's Scene.
And that was, I think, 10 years ago. Remember that we had that memory pop up.
Yeah.
So I think that was 10 years ago, earlier this year. And
you guys were there to film.
We were there to film Slim.
Right. And you ended up filming the whole show.
And we know Swerve. He's a high school buddy of ours. So, we were there to film Slim, but also we knew that Swerve was going to be there. And he's the one that, as far as I remember the story going, being like, yo, I worked with this dude named ZuP. Like, you guys really need to get in contact. And that's where I think the filming of the release went.
Yeah.
But I might not have been at the Outpost show, because back then I would have been working retail. And there's a chance that I was working on the weekend and Tommy G filmed that on his own.
So did you guys pick up like Vino and stuff too from Swerve?
Yeah, everything came through Swerve.
And for those who don't know, Swerve was my old DJ back in the day, back in the Room to Grow days.
So Vino. And
I know you were there for that one. For the
Dangerous Colors,
Dangerous
and that
Colors.
all like came through the same circle. And obviously, everybody, that's your crew. Everybody knew everybody. So we were just we were doing doing videos for everybody. I love that Dangerous Colors video that's out there. That's such a good one.
All your videos are good.
Appreciate that. A lot of that's Tom's editing, but
so then you were like, also you guys are making videos for like other people in that scene, in the Cleveland music scene, that weren't like affiliated with us, but like,
we did videos for a slew of people, from people that nobody's ever heard of. For a while, we were following around Pooh Gutta, which, that was a blast in its own way. And then we made a really nice connection as well with Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah. Erica Lauren's band.
Yes. Which got us into EST Fest the first year, which, that's one of the greatest weekends of my life.
Yeah,
was the very, very first EST Fest. We had the media pass to do whatever we wanted, and it was really something. And then the second year we got in with Marcus Allen Ward, and Brad was playing guitar. So like everything goes back to just funny.
That is funny.
Funny how the world wraps around like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like I was living in Lakewood at the time when you were living in Lakewood.
When I first moved.
When you first moved to Lakewood. Yeah. And we were like, you had your own little studio, the Genius Film Studio.
We had the Genius Film Studio. That was in Bedford.
Yeah. And we were like in talks about doing a music video, because you did film my album release party, like you said. But we were talking, we had like a couple, like, not storyboards, but just ideas thrown for a couple songs. And one was Roses. Man, that was still possible.
Which is the best. Oh, dude, if you told me right now, hey, we should stop this and start on the Roses music video, I would quit so quickly, because I think the Roses music video idea was one of the best videos never to be made.
Yeah, I was 50 pounds lighter, so that'll be hard to pick that up. What we filmed looks sweet so far, though.
I know. It's still some of my favorite. Like, we had pictures and stuff ready for it.
I don't think I've ever seen that footage.
I smashed that. You know, we were going to use that TV. That obviously ended up in a dumpster. That was going to be. Anyway.
So then we were going to do the roses, and we started that. And then we had this idea to film a Life Jacket for Two music video. And the day that we were supposed to film the music video, I got stabbed. But anyways, I called you, and I was like, hey, this ain't going to work today.
We're at breakfast.
You and Tommy.
It's me, Tommy G, and his mom. All right, we're at Jim's Open Kitchen having ourselves a lovely breakfast. And all of a sudden, I don't even think he reached out to me. To this, because Tom dealt with his own portion of clientele, and I had a other portion of clientele. And I feel like this is why I think I didn't meet you until your show, because you talked to Tom most of the time at the very beginning. You know, we weren't like, I was just working with you. It's not like we were boys.
Yeah.
So I remember us sitting there and Tom looking at his phone and looking up at me. And I mean, you know how Tom is. And he was just like, bro, I don't think we're doing the video today.
And you're like, what?
And I was like, we're supposed to meet him in like an hour, dude. What do you mean we're not doing the video? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. He got stabbed or something. He's in the hospital, or I think maybe you were out of the hospital at that point.
No, I was still in there. I remember.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And once again, I didn't really know you that well, so I was just like, okay, well.
But so that point though, then I was like laid up. You came to my parents' house.
I came to your parents' house because, by the way, by this point that we were going to do this video, I had quickly become a fan of your music, very quickly. So, yeah, I mean, I reached out. If you want to hang out or anything, I mean, you're stuck at your parents' house. Like, I'll roll through. Yeah, I rolled through to your parents' house. We were playing Grand Theft Auto.
Right, that's what I was about to say. Grand Theft Auto 5 online,
and that was our first. That was our first real hangout. I think was that.
Yeah. After that, we started like talking more. Then we started. Then I stopped making music. And then we were just kind of like gaming.
I also have this memory before you stopped making music.
I
have a memory. I don't remember which house you were at, but you had me come over like in the evening one time, and you were like, hey, let me play you these new unreleased tracks. And we hopped in your car and went around the block a couple times.
Okay, this is getting familiar.
And one of them honestly might have been The Boulevard. Is that possible? I feel like one of them was The Boulevard, and I was super into it then, and I'm still super into it now. I think that's a great song. And I don't remember what the other one was, but I remember just like sitting in the car and listening to this and being like, damn, this is dope. I'm hanging out with ZuP, and he's showing me like unreleased music.
I hope he doesn't quit.
I hope he doesn't stop for 10 years or anything like that. But yeah, I remember like just being like, oh, this is cool. All right, this is awesome.
I do remember now driving around. I can't remember what songs.
I feel like I wasn't even over your house very long. I don't even remember like hanging out that day. I just remember being in the car and you being like, do you want to listen to these tracks? And I was like, yeah, of course I do.
Is that when you borrowed the Birdman movie? But you skated over.
Did I give that back yet?
I don't know.
Oh, so that's when you were in Lakewood.
Yeah. It had to have been.
I don't know if those were the same times, but anyway.
Yeah. So, so I stopped making music for a while, and then we just would game all the time. We would just like stay connected through gaming and then like hanging out and everything like that. And I was trying to think of this. When did I tell you I was going to start making music again? Because I knew that I probably was like, I'm thinking about getting this drum machine.
How many people knew before me?
I don't think many. I don't think anybody did.
Fucking exclusive.
That's right. I had a bunch of people.
When did I know?
When are you going to? But I never told them.
I mean, I remember you telling me like, I'm buying this drum machine. I'm gonna just start messing around with it.
Yeah, because I was like in the mindset of if I buy this, I'm making an album.
Yes, and I I think you probably sent it to me just that way. Like, hey, if I buy this, I'm going to make an album. And I would like, yes, you should buy this right now.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, obviously that time in your life, you had some free time to get going on things. So yeah, I remember you telling me you were going to get it. And I'm sure I pushed you right into there's no way I would have said anything otherwise.
You weren't like, are you sure?
Yeah,
you were like, no, yeah, you should do this.
And then right away, I was like, okay, well, the first day you go to the studio.
Yeah, so that's what it was. You were like, I want to be on board with this. Like, do you care if I like film?
Yeah, can I come hang out in the studio?
And I was like, yeah, film? I don't care. And then, so the plans were when I was recording this album was like, I don't know I just want to do this. I want to record this shit, get it off my chest, put it out, do maybe a couple shows. We'll see what happens. But I had no idea that I would be like here right now doing a podcast based off all these other songs that I'm doing post-album.
Right.
Which is crazy. And, you and I have had this talk, like, if I was like feeling down about something or whatever, you were like, well, you got to like, what do you want? Like, think about what you actually want.
Talk.
I know, we still have this talk. And that keeps changing all the time because it's like, I'm just not prepared for all this different stuff that's happening, which is cool. I mean, that's a good thing. But yeah, I had no idea that I would still be recording new songs and all this other shit after the album.
I also had no idea that you would get to this point because I remember it being a conversation of like, if I buy this, if I spend this money on this beat machine, I'm going to make an album. And maybe I'll never release it. But then that quickly was like, no, I'm putting in this time and money. I'm going to obviously release it.
Yeah.
Which changes the whole thing in itself on the way that you want to put it together and market it and so on and so forth. So we've had many of conversations of, what do you really want to do? What do you envision? What do you see? And we're going to keep having those conversations for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Years to come.
Poor Greg and Swerve at the beginning, I would call them up and I'd be like, we need a meeting. And I would like take them to my work and I'd print out like 3 sheets of paper of like all these ideas I had and like how I wanted to market the album. And I had like maybe 4 songs recorded. You guys were like, oh, that's really cool. But like, why don't you finish the album first? I was just like too excited about it at this point where I was trying to come up with all these things. And now that's kind of just become the thing where it's like, let's sit down and like figure out what we're doing next.
I love the meetings, but I'll never forget the first meeting because you're right. You only had like maybe 3 or 4 songs, and you were like, "Here's how I want to do the album release." And we were like, "What album are you talking about?" Like, I can't see your vision because we're not that close to the finish line.
Right? Yeah, I got a little too excited there.
But now I feel like I'm the one where I'm texting you like, bro, we need to sit down because we need to talk about some things. We need to figure out what the next step is. We need to rope some people in.
Yep. It's all been working out great. We're kind of going as we're moving along, and it's working.
Yes.
But we're planning so good in advance, but we're still going. We're still, learning.
Yeah, I mean, there's no pause. There's no stop. Yeah. You just have to, keep moving and adapt.
Yeah. My brain just does not stop working. But anyways, that takes us to Vintage Soul. So, okay. So Vintage Soul, let me just go into just how this song came to be, right? So this song, like I said, is on my album For Me. It's different than, I think, all the other songs on the album. It's a slower R&B song, and I would say I have 2 of those on there. It's that and Fingerprints, which are back in one after another. So when I first conceived the idea for Vintage Soul, I was like, I want to make a song like Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton, which is making me laugh because this song is nothing like Tennessee Whiskey and I sound nothing like Chris Stapleton. But anyways, that was my thought. Like, I was like, all right, I want this like slow ass drum loop and then like just these like soulful guitars, and I'm just gonna like sing some like shit on there, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you remember this, but when I first wrote to it, it was just a drum. So it was like boom,
Okay.
and it was terrible drum. Nothing else. No bass, no guitar. It was literally just drums. And I went in and I sang the lyrics I wrote. And Brad was like, you aren't even on a key. Like, what key is this song? And I was like, I don't know yet. And he's like, well, this is a problem. So I'm like, damn it, you're right. So I knew I wanted Chris Williams to play on it. And Chris played on Lost and Found. He played on my song Jenga on my old album. And then he played Vintage Soul and Better Off on this album. So Chris and I went to high school together. And so we, I love throwing ideas to him and him coming back with stuff. So we were just kind of like, whatever. I'm like, I don't really know what I want. Can you just like play this like soulful guitar like around my voice? But Brad was like, that's going to be hard for him because we don't know what you're doing. Right. So put that to the side. The reason I wrote this song is because I wanted to write like a love song about, like an intimate love song that felt like it wasn't just like a generic love song where, I love you and all this stuff, right? I wanted to like be specific, like, this isn't like a new age type of love. Like, let's just like put the phones down. Let's just like go take a picnic and like have conversations and like, seeing into each other is like what I wanted to write about, which is why I thought the Chris Stapleton Tennessee Whiskey soulfulness would work really good on it. Which it probably could if I found somebody that could sing like that. Maybe this song would be a hit. But
yeah.
Anyways, so the next studio session, I wanted to say this first off the bat. Vintage Soul is for sure the most expensive song on that album. I probably spent the most time in the studio on that song. So have another studio session, and I get Chris in there. And Chris wasn't 100% sure what to do. So he was like playing just like bluesy guitar on different parts. And I think I had to re-record my lyrics. And I was just like, something wasn't fitting. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, this just doesn't sound right. Like the drums still sound like shit and blah, blah, blah. And then Chris started like messing around. And that's when he did that dun, 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 dun. And I was like, whoa, what was that? Like, play that again, And he kept doing that. And then we were like, fuck it, we're using that. Like, that sounds cool. So then I kind of went back and re-recorded the lyrics again to match that. And it was like completely changed the song from this Tennessee Whiskey vibe that I wanted to this, I don't even know what you would describe.
What it became.
Yeah, what it became. And I think Tommy G actually came to the studio one of those times. And he was just like, why was he at the studio?
He just hit me up one time and was like, do you think ZuP cares if I roll through? And I was like, no, come.
Yeah,
there's room. So, I was like, the studio is huge. Come on in.
Yeah, so he was just there for one of those.
He was just hanging out.
So yeah, I still hated the song. I was like, man, this is just trash. But like, I could feel the potential, I've already put all this money into it. So then I went back and reworked the drums. And I was like, okay, these drums are so much better now. And then I'm like, what if, like, it'd be cool if this is like a song about like vintage soul, like old love, old school love. But what if I made the beat more like electronic and spacier, which is where those synths come from, right? So it kind of contradicts each other, but it works because it contradicts each other. So I did that and I was like in love with it. And I think I re-recorded my verses again after that. And, added some samples on there, like this is what makes it hip hop. And then I was sold. Chris had like a nice little like guitar solo on that third verse, and we took that out and put the synth rides in there. And man, that's like one of my favorite parts. But I remember I went from hating that song to absolutely loving that song. And then when we did our last final listen, so when my album was done, I got like everybody together. We went in the studio, because we had to record like one part for one song, all of us yelling.
Yes, we did.
But I was like, let's all listen to the album from front to beginning to end. What needs to go? What's good? Now, sometimes when people record albums, they record a whole bunch of songs and they just cut stuff or whatever. This time around, I ended up everything that I recorded for my album made the album. Mm-hmm. And I was prepared to cut stuff if it didn't fit. And so I was like, Vintage Soul's gone. Like, that's gone. this does not fit on the album or whatever. And I remember saying that when the song was over with. And I think Jackie, Swerve's wife, was like, that's my favorite song so far. And PK said something about it and somebody else. And I was like, shit, I guess I got to keep it. But I'm glad I did because I love that song. And a lot of people love that song. And I like when they tell me that because I feel like it's a sleeper track, which is why I wanted to do a music video. And I always, listening to it or writing it and stuff, I always envisioned this like dancing, and it was like originally like inside like a ballroom, and then kind of in my mind went to like being outside. And then that's when I was like, hey, because you and I talked about doing music videos for a few songs.
A lot of songs. I want to do a music video for every song. That's a fact.
And they're just like, it's not as easy as you think. The ideas we dream big. I was like, well, here's an idea that's not very big. Just two people dancing. So, I went to you about that. Were you like, this is crazy for two people dancing, or could you see it too?
because your original idea when you came to me, at least, you already had the idea that you wanted Hannah to do the Zouk dancing. Like, you were already in on that. There was no other. It's not like you were like, hey, I think I want to do an actual ballroom dancing thing.
Right.
And then it changed to that. Like, that was always the thing that you brought to me. So, as far as I know, I knew what the dance looked like. I had already been to the studio, I think. And I think it was before it. And I've been to the studio and to just, like, mess around and, like, watch movements and kind of, like, whatever, weave through people and see how things turn out.
And like Greg said, it's called Cleveland Zouk, and Zouk is a dance, and it's like
Zouk is a dance. It's a Brazilian,
like impromptu type dance, sort of. There's really no choreography to it in the actual dance. They just kind of like go off of vibes.
Yes. Yeah, vibes. Yeah, it's very close, and it's a very close sensual dance.
Yes,
where
it's beautiful dancing.
Yes, it is. When you get two people that really know what they're doing, it's really something to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I like this music video.
Yeah, great music video. Go watch it. But yeah, when you presented that to me, I could already see what you were talking about. And I think the picnic thing was already presented to me as well. Like, hey, I have this idea. I want them to do this dance. I want it to be at a picnic. Like, that's just what we're going to capture.
And I was like obsessed with the water too. Like, I was like, I want to do it.
I want to be by a lake. Yep,
yeah.
Yeah, some sort of body of water. And as soon as you said that, like, I already knew that I wanted to use that one specific camera. It just allows me to move more freely. The shots will be very smooth, and it'll all be, it'll all be done on the same thing. So, I had ideas. Now, like you said before, we dream big.
Yes.
I had some other ideas that weren't going to happen, but it was already flowing from the second you brought it to me. I had plenty of things to work with.
And it was cool to like be a part of that too, because, I've done one music video before, and that was for Cat Burglar, and that was also simple. It was just like, let's film the whole song with a different group of bands that I know, and just splice it together. Mm-hmm. But this was fun because like I drove around and was like scouting locations. Do you remember that? I was like, I know there's this place over here.
Yep.
And it ended up being in Peninsula, right? Is that where?
Yeah.
And then Indigo Lake, right? Is that what it's called?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think so. I was tagging it. That sounds like I was tagging it to the right place. And then, Hannah, she had to find a partner, and she found Luke, and then they had to they ended up choreographing the whole thing.
Main parts of it.
Main parts.
Yes, there's main cornerstones that they choreographed to get into. But I do think, once they got there and saw the setup, a lot of that is still improv. But, you got to run through it multiple times.
Yeah.
So the improv ended up becoming less and less improv, and kind of once they figured it out, they kept doing the same little things.
Right. Because we had to get multiple shots. It wasn't like a one-shot thing. So it was like with the editing, having some, like you said, the cornerstone moments
Yes.
to like splice together makes it easier. So you're not like
Right.
cutting to something where they're doing something completely different.
Right. And then I had to reshoot the other parts because I forgot for a moment, but I also used the Nikon in it because that's the parts that we made to actually look nice and old timey.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many times do you think they ran through that day?
A lot. And it was very hot that day.
And we started early.
Yeah.
And it was hot. And, sun movement, like that's lighting, all of that is a thing that
I had to run behind Greg because he was going in a circle because I didn't want to be in the shot or my shadow. So I was just behind him the entire time.
You were probably enjoying having a full music video where you didn't.
Oh, it was great. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weren't we going to do something as a joke at the end? I can't remember now.
I was going to have you run in the lake.
Yeah, probably. There was something. I was going to do something stupid.
Oh, God. Didn't you want to do something with the train? Or
I
the
can't
train
remember.
was coming by and you're like, how do we get the train in this?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, dude.
That was a great location, though. And there wasn't too many people there. That's why we went early.
Yes.
There was maybe like 4 people that like were walking dogs at different points. But we went to Lakewood Park and did like that test run, which was really cool.
Yes.
I liked watching that stuff. And I get uneasy with like doing things in public. So like
Do you?
being at Lakewood Park and filming, like watching you film and me standing there while these 2 people are dancing and people are walking by staring just makes me uncomfortable.
And they could care less.
They could care less.
They don't care.
They love that shit. And I'm just like,
We're embracing it.
yeah. But yeah, those test shots looked really good. And that's when I met Luke for the first time, and he was awesome. Yeah. And him and Hannah just
Crushed it.
yeah, drilled away at it and then just killed it. And it looked like exactly what I wanted. And I know, it might be kind of like confusing. Like, this is just a music video, just 2 people dancing. But, like, that's just what I wanted, man. Like, to me, the song, if you really listen to the song, it is a beautiful song. And, like, I don't know. 2 people having a picnic.
It's a beautiful dance.
Yeah, 2 people having a picnic together and getting up and dancing and feeling like one person while they're dancing is just like, that's perfect for it.
I loved the vision.
Yeah, I think it was great. And that was fun too, debuting it or whatever and watching the countdown and people in the chat. That was
I've
really
never done
fun.
anything like that.
Me neither.
So that was cool to be able to debut and have people watch it live with us.
Yeah, that was super cool. Was there anything that you wish you would have done on that video, like differently, or like what were the ideas that you had? I don't know if I even know those.
I wish in my head I can move the camera wherever I want in my head, but wouldn't it be cool if I was able to take the camera like between them at moments on like smooth transitions, like if they were, if you were holding my hand and we were doing like and then I shoved like the camera through to the other side and came out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things like that, or like specific turns. Like I always think of, I watch certain music videos and, I had these ideas of like when Hannah, I think we messed with it. Like when she was getting spun, I wanted to try to spin with her in a way, but it just wasn't looking as smooth as what I envisioned. And, I never want to put out something that's hard on the eyes.
Yeah.
Like I don't want somebody to be watching it and be like, oh, that was,
motion sickness or whatever.
Yeah. And even if it's just like a small part of it, there's a smoothness to it that I felt like it needed.
Yeah. And I think that you did portray that with everything, like, the far away shots and, even the old vintage looking shots, how they were mixed into each other and stuff worked really well. So I think it looked exactly like I wanted it to look.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
I guess at the end of the day, that's what matters, right?
Shout out to Tommy G. He helped me with a little bit of that as well.
What's up, Tom?
Yeah. I would always, that was my first music video in, the 10 years that we
Right,
were
'cause
off
now
adulting, you know what I mean?
So this isn't Genius Films. I meant to bring this up before. So this is Third Eye Wolf Productions, and this is just you.
Just me. You gotta stamp yourself somehow.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
This is the first music video I've done by myself in an extremely long time. Obviously I had help here and there. I got your input. I reached out to Tom. I got his input on things. But yeah, it was something different because I really am more of a group. I like working in groups overall. I like bouncing ideas off of people. I like, there's a lot that comes to that. I'm not used to working by myself on a full thing. Mm-hmm. And then to just, it's not like I was filming things over those 10 years.
Right,
I haven't touched the software in that time. So now all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm getting back into music. And I'm like, okay, well, I still have this Nikon body from 10 years ago. I can use that. I got a couple lenses for it. But then, that one camera that you bought off your buddy was like...
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Big O.
I bought that camera, and I was messing around with that. I've never played with a camera like that before. It's just, it's set up on the gimbal already, and it's very nice. And I brought that to the studio a couple times, and... So yeah, just having options. That video was before the 360.
Yeah.
But now I have a nice little collection of things.
Yeah.
But I was getting at, like I haven't touched these things in so long. It's not like I've been messing around. So to all of a sudden be like, in my head I'm telling you, hey, I want to do a music video for everything.
Right.
But then when you're finally like, okay, let's do this music video, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta okay, let's do this music video. Like, let's see how this turns out. So that was the first.
It's crazy to think how I was talking earlier about like not expecting to be doing as much stuff as I'm doing right now. It's crazy to think how much you and I both have advanced in all the things that we're doing. Where like we weren't these reels and all this shit. We weren't doing that before because that wasn't. I don't even know if that was a climate then. Shit changes so quick. And I've talked about this already on here, but it's like you have to be a social media master now if you want to be a musician or if you want to own your own business. I got a friend from like my grade school that's starting a business, and I think she like paid some influencers to like do it, and it's like that's the thing now,
Right. And I'm not a social media person.
Yes, and Greg's a smart one in the room here. He does not have social media, so he doesn't have to see on all this crap or be stressed out about it like I am.
But also, I don't know what's hip. I don't know what's cool anymore. I don't know what these videos look like.
We were talking about today, like the lyric videos where like it cuts off in the middle of the song, and it's like why? Sense. But that's like what I don't know.
I also don't need lyric videos for every video. Like there's so many things, but we can't even dive into all of that. The point is, I didn't know what was going on. So like, yes, the progression of both of us, because I'm still not jumping into social media. I still don't like. I'm not watching these things on TikTok. You just have to tell me like, hey, this is what I want, and I'll just follow suit.
Yeah.
But I actually have no influence, which is also great in its own way, because I'm not influenced by whatever else is going on. Right. I have a lot of just my ideas, and if they mesh up, they mesh, and if they don't, whatever. But I feel like you were the same way. Like, it's not like you were all over social media before you started doing music again. So we both kind of had to figure some things out and hop back in.
I remember seeing like lyric videos for the first time, and I was like, what is this? Like, why is this a thing? And now I just like can't imagine life without it. Like when I was waiting for you to get here, I filmed a lyric video for a song I had coming out. So it's like, it's just a wild world. And
everybody does them on their phones and stuff now. Like it's so easy.
How do you feel about that? Like, because you have, this good equipment and all these things. Does a part of you like hate the fact that like anybody could do this on their iPhone? I mean, iPhone's got great qualities now.
No, I don't necessarily hate it. I don't personally like doing it. I'd rather be on my computer with the full setup. But that's because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
The only one I really mess with on the phone is when I bust out the 360 cam, which I think that app works very well for what you can do on the phone. But even then, like, I would still just rather put it in the computer, do everything I want to do there. On the flip side, you're not getting a video in 10 minutes. You probably have the video that you made today already edited. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude.
No, it's crazy how that works, and I wish it would have been like that years ago. But, hey, good for people that can do that stuff.
And if anybody can do it, that's great. But just because anybody can do it doesn't make them all good.
Correct. Absolutely. So, all right. So you, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, you filmed a music video for me. You filmed behind the scenes stuff like at the studio. So like
every single studio.
Yeah. So like me recording songs and stuff. Greg's always there. He's missed probably 2 studio sessions in the last 4 years. And then like band practices and then like live shows.
The live shows are my favorite.
That's what I was about to ask.
The live shows are my favorite thing to film. As much as my ideas for the music videos flow so naturally, I've always loved filming live footage. Obviously, it's easy to just like throw together a live footage reel. But being able to be, a big part of it's kind of greedy, but like being able to be at the show and just being able to go wherever I want with a camera. Like, people aren't telling me no with a camera. So, like, when you just get to walk around and move around and, I'm not filming other people. Like, I don't put myself out there for work. That's not how this is at the moment. And probably won't be for a good while. But this was all just, for you.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. So I feel very open to the stage. I don't have to like worry about, does a band actually want me on the stage? Can I get behind this guitar player? Like, just, are they paying attention to where I am as somebody, whatever it is. But, so it just feels very natural.
Yeah.
To do the live shows with you and just be able to move around and get whatever I want, wherever I want.
Right.
And being able to enjoy all these live shows is just like, that's like a blessing in itself. It's just such like an easy task. It's a lot less stressful to film a live show than it is to put together a music video. So.
Yeah. And I'm very anti-music video, and Greg gets annoyed with it.
I honestly would do every single song.
I know. And the reason why I'm anti-music video is I think because we live in this world, like I said, where everybody wants this quick shit, And
I want to go home and watch TRL.
Right. And I get that because I do too. I do miss watching music videos. It's just like, I don't know. Everything moves so fast. I'm thinking about my next like 2 weeks of things I'm putting out. And I'm also thinking about, shit, what do I need for those next 2 weeks to put out? And it's like everything is on a schedule for me. And trying to fit that in is like extra stressful for me. And I know that sucks because I know you want to film something, but eventually, and I get film something for like something old, like Quicksand's already out. And, you and Rich were like, you should do a music video for Quicksand. And it's like, but it's already out. But I get it. In this day and age, I could put a music video out in 2 years for Drunken Sunburnt, and people would be like,
they want to care. If you did a Drunken Sunburnt music video right now, people would watch it 100 times over.
I know.
But I do keep telling you, you can pick any song off of For Me and still do a music video, and it's good. But, it's just a way to get more content, baby.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we were going to do for Phones at the Beach. We were going to film like a music video and then like chop it up into reels. But, stuff happens. It just doesn't happen that way.
Stuff happens.
What are you going to do? When it comes to like the studio sessions and stuff, filming that, do you enjoy that stuff? I mean, granted, you're you're being able to listen to like a new song like form and stuff, do you in your mind as far as editing, because you haven't really like touched studio stuff and I haven't really asked for any of that stuff, and I know you got tons of it, not even from the For Me album, but like everything I've been doing recently. Do you have like ideas for like putting that stuff together, or like what?
Okay.
I'm not asking this because you know what I mean? I'm just asking out of curiosity.
When I first started going to the studio with you, the great thing was just being able to listen to all the things that you didn't have out yet.
Right.
Because like I said, you know, obviously at this point that you were like, hey, I'm making this new album, we were already like that.
Oh, yeah.
So if I said, hey, I'm just coming to hang out and I never even had a camera with me, you would have been like, okay, come to the studio. Mm-hmm. But being able to watch you put together the album and just make the music and just be in that musical setting, because I love music. I don't like being in front of a camera. So like, you know, working on the craft of making music, obviously I could do it for myself, but it's just like not something that I kept up with.
Yeah.
But I love being in the setting of it. And, you know, we've always had a really good relationship of just free flowing ideas. Mm-hmm. You're willing to ask me things. I'm willing to give you real answers. Mm-hmm. So yeah, being in the studio at first was just more about hanging out, watching you put together the process. It was great to have a camera there for all of it. Just in case you ever wanted to do anything with it, I could just hand it over to you. At first, I had no plans of doing anything. I still don't really have plans of doing something.
Yeah,
but I always do joke and say that one day I'll drop my
Kanye documentary.
Yeah, what was that? What was that called?
Oh, that one that was on
Genius or
no.
I know I want to say Yeezus, but that's the album.
Yeah, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, you know when that came out, I always joked with you like, dude, I have hours of footage of you in the studio, but it's not like it's all wonderful footage. It doesn't need to be out there. It could be used for little things here and there. But it's just holding on in a vault right now.
Yeah. The way I look at it is studio footage is kind of boring in the sense that there's really, I mean, my studio sessions aren't too crazy.
There's not a lot going on.
It's usually just me and Greg and Chris. Now, Chris at Signal Flow. But before it was just me, Greg, and Brad pretty much. And it's just me in the booth singing or rapping, and that's pretty much it. And afterwards, me going, why don't you do this, and why don't you take that out over there?
Right.
It's really not that exciting, but...
So, like, I could have went to one studio session, and if you were like, hey, we need to pull a studio clip for, like, whatever. Say you wanted to make a video, or you wanted to put studio clips in a music video or whatever, I could have went to one or two sessions, and we'd have enough clips for forever to come.
Yeah.
But just having everything there, even though I would say most of it it's boring content, it's still good to have.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was about to say.
It's going to be great to look back at one day and just be like, man.
Oh, my God, remember that? Like,
yeah. I mean, I have so many memories from making that album that, like, they stick with me. And I don't know what is on film and what isn't on film, but just the whole process of making that album and being on the album a couple different times as well. Just what a process it really was.
It is fun.
It was so fun for me to just be a part of that whole thing.
And I say the studio's footage is boring, but it's really fun to actually do it, though.
Yeah. But like nobody wants to watch that back.
Yeah, no. But no, you're right. That whole process was a ton of fun. I'm glad you were there for it. Not even just to record, but just like be a part of it, because it was a big thing for me, because it had been so long since I like did anything, and like nobody, including me, really knew what to expect.
Right.
It was like, I wrote the song. It's this R&B song. Let's try it. And then it sounded good, you know. I'm writing a song trying to be like Chris Stapleton. I mean, what the fuck?
Well,
what's wrong with me?
Can we talk about the first studio session?
Yes. Which was Fingerprints.
Yeah. So you didn't give me any. I had no like, hey, this might be. You just came in and you're like, this is the song I'm gonna do, and because later down the line, I got a lot of beats, or you would send me a video of like you with the beat playing, and you're like, here's how this is going to sound. And you would sing it over whatever. So I don't think I got any of that for Fingerprints, because it was just, hey, I'm going to start doing this album. And I told you I was going to come with you. And I remember you warning me like, hey, this first song, it sounds nothing like I've ever done before. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, I have a wide music range. Let's see what this sounds like. I think you're super talented. So let's see what happens here. And when you started laying that down, I remember looking at Brad and just being like, dude, he's so fucking talented. He's so talented. Like, this is really something. And yeah, it doesn't sound like anything that you've done before, but I love that song.
That is a great song.
Remember the music video ideas for it?
That music video that Greg and I have is
we can still do
the
that
best
one
music
too.
video never
Just
recorded
saying.
yet.
No. That's still Roses.
Yeah, I had my old truck. I was able to like play music on my phone and then record on Snapchat, and I could record a video of me like singing of like a voice note essentially. And I would send them to Greg all the time, like, oh, once again, like Quicksand. I remember sending that to him, like, this is this idea I have. I don't really know how it's going to go, but I started doing it. Now, unfortunately, with my new truck, I can't do that for whatever reason. It drives me crazy. I've already adapted now, though. But do you like when I send you that stuff, or would you rather be surprised?
No. I don't need to be surprised anymore.
I have still surprised you recently on some stuff.
Yes, I do get surprised often. You do like to throw them out there, but I also love getting like the sneak peeks of things.
Because you'll be honest, you'll be like, well, you've never really said something sounds bad. You'll just be like, okay, see where this goes,
Yes, I believe in the vision that whatever you're doing by the end of it is going to come up good. Dude, if you send me something off your phone, I'm never going to say this sounds bad, because that's infancy stages of whatever that is. But when it comes down to it, it's not like I'm afraid to tell you my opinion. Like, there's been certain times in the booth where, for Quicksand, for example, when we were first doing the editing, and that, the ooze like really got brought. Remember, they got brought way down.
Yeah,
and
we put an effect on them. You're like, no,
bro. This is why I like when you send me things before, because I can reference that. Like, when you first sent this to me, this is what sticks. This is what's going to get in people's heads. You have to revert back and fix that, because that's what I'm hearing is not it. It's
not what I sent you in that voice note or whatever.
Right. And we scrapped it.
Yeah.
Went back, and
you're right.
Now we're at where we're at on that song.
Did you have any notes for Vintage Soul?
As a song?
Like as I was like going through it?
No, not that I can remember off top.
Yeah, me neither. I remember Tommy G had some ideas about like adding some stuff during the hook. I think that was Vintage Soul. Because I played him some stuff at your wedding too.
Yep.
And he was giving me feedback on it. But I don't know if that was Vintage Soul though. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I've said it a million times, like, you'll just be honest, and that's what I need. I don't need somebody to be like, oh yeah, that's great, man. That's perfect. Like, no, just tell me how it is,
Right.
Because I can play songs for people, and I'm pretty good at reading people. And I know when somebody is just like, oh, yeah. No,
yeah, giving you the BS answer.
Yes, I know when they don't like it. And, I've even, like, made comments, like, to Alicia or whoever. I'm like, they didn't like that song.
Right.
Like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. You know what I mean? But
But it's not like I've ever shot anything down, because, like I said, the vision is there. Some things just need tweaked.
Yeah. That's, what we do. But, yeah. Band practices. Those have been fun now. So Greg and I sat down recently, and we're kind of mapping out for what we want to do for next year. But like, one of the things was making sure that we utilize more stuff with the band, because we're now on a 2-week, every other week practice schedule, and it's been fun so far. I mean, the stuff that I've been doing, and
been a blast.
Filming, and a lot of 360 stuff, and getting into the the other fun side of things, it's good. What do you enjoy about being at band practice? Is it cool to be at band practice and see us, like, as of right now, right, trying to restructure the set and do all these things? Now, obviously, we haven't performed since we started restructuring the set, but I guess use another example of when we've had to do this in the past. Is it cool to see us, like, start that out and then see it end the show?
So I think I like both ways of how it used to be and how it is now. Like, I never came to band practice until recently, mostly. So before, I had anytime you had a show, I didn't know the set list. I didn't want to know the set list. Like the Halloween show, like, I didn't know about other people doing other songs. There's a lot of surprises, Thriller and
Rich doing all.
Yeah. He did War Pigs.
War Pigs, yeah.
And
how could I forget?
Yeah, how could you forget? He was looking good up there. He's a rock star.
He was with his wig on.
But yeah, I do love surprises like that. But at the same time, it's so cool to watch you guys restructure things.
Mm-hmm. Because recently I'll, like, look back at you and I'll be like, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, when the vibe is there,
yep,
it's there. For sure. So, and also, you don't want a room of 20 people, but the more ideas that are flowing around, like I said before, like, I'm not afraid to throw an idea out there. And it doesn't have to be used, not used, doesn't matter. Just throw them out there, and we're going to use some of them coming up. So stuff like that excites me when I'm able to just do some sort of little contribution that's going to make your show or your presentation or whatever it is just that much better. Because at the end of the day, and I told you from day one, like, I'm just here to help you out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm really not here for any sort of gain of myself, which is why I'm not putting myself out there to work with other people or do anything like that. I believe in your music. I think you're super talented.
Appreciate you.
I think everybody should see that, which is why I'm now going to all the band practices.
Yeah.
Because I keep pushing content. And if you're not going to let me make 12 music videos, then I'm going to go to your band practice, and I can't record, not boring things, but, like the studio. I don't want to record something that's just going to sit there because it's not fun to watch. We're going to do the 360 videos, or we're going to do the interview, or whatever it is, anything new, because according to you, that's what people need. It's more content.
More content.
So
I just want to say, as far as you contributing, you kind of mentioned it before, but Greg contributed on a few songs on the album too. Lyrics, he's thrown some lyrics in there. I'm not going to say which ones, but he was like, why don't you say this in the song? And I did. Or like, he also says, let's go on Couch.
That's me. Can I tell you the best? I know I'm interrupting this.
No, this is fine.
But when you had your first show back and you played that song and the crowd
said, let's go,
I was like, oh yeah, this is like, this shit is cool, dude.
Yeah.
And they were hitting the yeah, like the whole, it was just like, it was a lot. It was a vibe.
That was fun. That was a great show.
But the other, go ahead. Did you have more?
No, I was just going to say that you do contribute. I'm very, very open to like any type of contribution, regardless of anything, right? Like, when I'm in the studio, if somebody has an idea, hell yeah, let's try that out. Let's do that. Just recently I was recording with Chris, and I had a lyric that I'd said, and Chris was like, why don't you say it like this? And then I did, and I was like, oh my God, that was so much better. Or, substituting this word for that, or whatever the case is. And then with band practice too, I'm very, very open at band practice. Like, I'm not somebody that's like, this is my music, I don't care what anybody else says. Like, I'm like, what does everybody think about this? How do we feel about this? Are we sure this is okay? Well, why don't we try this? All right, let's try this, And sometimes I throw some wildly weird shit up against the wall, but it works sometimes. Or we'll be like, no, that's not working,
Right. But at the same time, and I appreciate our relationship for this, I'm not afraid that if I think I have a good idea and you're somewhat pushing it, I'm not afraid to just keep pushing that idea.
Like, what do you mean?
For the group sound on For Me, I was very, very, very adamant on how many people I thought we needed in the room. I remember you at one point just being like, I think we just need like 2 people and we can just like dub it a couple times.
Yeah.
And I was very, very adamant that that was not going to
Yeah, that's right. It was
work
your
out.
idea. You're like, we should just get a group of people, get some food.
You need a group of people in there. You need males and females all there, so you get all the voices there, and you can't just double the voices. You need a different sound, and that worked out
So good.
so beautifully, just like everybody in that circle, screaming the lyrics.
And it was just a fun get together.
And of course, it was fun to get together.
Because you're right, people brought food and everything. There was like that that dip that PK brought. Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah, it was a nice hangout. And at the same time, the other one that I didn't think you were going to take, and I was very adamant on it, was the heel clicks.
Oh, yeah,
because you didn't want the heel clicks. You wanted to say the lyrics.
Yeah, so on my song Better Off, it's like she's coming down the stairs just to show off in her high heels, and I went click, 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 or something like that.
Yeah,
and I remember Greg was in the booth with me, so the way the old studio was this huge booth, and Greg was in there filming, and I remember we stopped it because I think I just punched in the click, 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 and then you were like, no, dude, no.
That's not it. That wasn't it, because every single time I heard the song, and maybe that comes back to like just being able to have like put together a music video real fast when I'm listening to something, like put together a little movie in my head. I see the heels. Like I see them literally clicking on the hardwood floor. Like that's what you want. You just need the sound in there.
Yeah.
Everybody understands what you're trying to go for. And I feel like I was pushing that, and you were like, no, I don't know. This is how I thought about it. And then I don't even know if it got to the final recording, because I think we just kind of listened back to it and we were like, okay, let's try putting this in there and instantly.
I think Brad downloaded the high heel clicks and put them in there, or I did or something. But yeah, as soon as we heard it, we're like, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that aspect of the relationship that we have, that I'm not really afraid to push. And still, like, even though you say you like everybody's ideas and stuff, like at the end of the day, it is still just your music.
Yeah, and I will I'll die on the hill that I am on if I really agree with something, but like I'm open to suggestions and ideas, and I've told people, no, it's a good idea, it might not work right now, or whatever the case is,
no, we don't have time for a music video right now.
Yeah, stuff like that, the important things. But I think that just makes stuff easier. It makes relationships easier if it's not one-sided, where it's just like, communication. That's the number one thing in any type of relationship, romantic, friendship, business, communication. If we can talk this out and figure something out, and this makes sense or it doesn't make sense, but we work out why it does or doesn't, that's all it is. Instead of me going, nope, next, you know.
Right.
So, because I'll tell you, like, oh, man, that is such a good idea, but this is why we can't do a music video right now, and I'll, like, break it down.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyways, well, do you have anything else you'd like to say about recording stuff, or any more insight into the things that you do, or leave it all mystery? Or we talked about a lot of stuff.
Talked about just about everything. I will say that I think your show for the beer release that we rigged with the cameras was one of the coolest things.
Yeah,
that we did.
For Phones at the Beach single release, we had Saucy Brewworks put a beer out for the song, and we did it at Saucy Brewworks. Now their location that they had, their event center, was just flat. There's no stage, so we were thinking about maybe building a stage. We're going back and forth, but they had a ginormous I forget what it was, like 10 by 10, 10 foot
I
by
have
10.
no idea. That was huge.
It's a humongous screen on the wall, and it was a bunch of little LED screens that were just put
not
together.
a projector, a really nice.
Yeah. So, you had the idea of like, well, you and Chris were talking about it. Chris, the bassist, like, go ahead.
Well, so the first idea was what we had running before the show was we'll just make something to play along in the back of you that you can just run the whole time. So I was working on what ended up being the beach montage of just putting something together, having your logo on it, something that can just be on a loop. It could run for 5 hours if you needed it to, which was always the backup if we couldn't get anything else to work. But I think it was Chris's original idea. Was it yours or Chris's?
No, it wasn't
Chris.
Mine. It was Chris that he was talking about hanging.
He wanted to hang the GoPro from the ceiling or whatever. Oh, yeah, because he wanted to shoot it straight down and film the GoPro from the ceiling, which once seeing that place, that would have never worked. Right. But the idea was already implanted at that point. And we did a lot to get that set up.
Yes.
But it ended up working out.
So many people gave me compliments on having that screen and the videos on there. So what we ended up doing was we didn't build a stage. That was kind of like we're going back through this whole process. Mind you, this was in May, and I knew we were doing this show in January. So we had a long time, but I didn't tell everybody until like 2 months before or something like that. So
our planning isn't always perfect.
No. But we still had ample time to like figure stuff out, and we did. But we were going back and forth. Do we want a stage? Do we not want a stage? What are we going to do with these cameras? Are we going to do that? And we weren't on a set schedule for band practice. It was just kind of like, hey, when's the next time we can do this? Whereas now, like I said earlier, we're like every other week.
Wasn't going to practice.
And you weren't going to practice, so your input, you were in the group chat, but it was like sometimes group chats, any group chat, I'm not talking shit about the band group chat, but any group chat's like wrangling cats sometimes to get everybody on the same page. So it was hard to kind of like do that.
It's talking to you, band.
That's right. This is only about you, no other group chat. But no, so we like bought cameras and we bought cords and we went to Saucy a couple times and we're testing things out and they weren't working right. And then we had to go buy
we bought the switcher.
We bought a switcher. Oh, yeah. We bought all this crap. Man,
we bought 3 cameras.
Yeah.
We used 2 of them.
Yeah.
Bought all those cords.
We had the one idea where Greg was going to walk around in the crowd with a camera.
There was a
do
chance
it through
that
Bluetooth.
I was going to live. Yep, I was going to live stream it basically.
But that didn't end up working out, which is fine. But we had these giant subs and speakers on each side of the stage, and Greg taped the cameras on them facing down, and he was able to switch between the different angles. So the reason why we did that is because we couldn't build a stage, so everybody's flat, and it was a ton of people in there, so the people in the back couldn't see because it was just a sea of people. But if they looked up, they could see this ginormous screen.
It's like a Titantron.
Yeah, it was perfect, and all the hard work and stuff that you did for that, it just, like I said before, so many people complimented that. They're like, thank God you had that because I couldn't see shit.
I heard that a lot too, which just, I love that. That worked out so well. Just being able to have the remote. Thank God I didn't live stream the whole, that would have been terrible. But just being able to switch through there. Do you remember we got there the day of and the cord all of a sudden wasn't working on my...
Oh, yeah. On your laptop?
On my laptop. And we just had to switch some things around. But the anxiety that I had, because I took that day off work to help set up and everything, and we were there for the full setup, but I couldn't set up anything until the stage was set up. They had to bring in the speakers and all that stuff. So I was basically the last person to set thing up. And all of a sudden, my adapter to the Mac just didn't want to read the HDMI cord anymore that the switcher was going to run through. So we had to pivot a little bit, but it all worked out.
It all worked out. There's always some stuff like that. But just know when you come to a ZuP show, if we're throwing the show, there's a lot of love and hard work that goes into every aspect of what we do. We don't just throw a show and jump on stage and sing. we like try to make sure that it's entertaining and everybody's accommodated.
Yeah, it should be an experience.
For sure.
You want people to walk away and remember your set for more than just, hey, I'm a fan, I like these songs.
Right.
You want it to be an experience.
Right. So, and you ran the merch table, which is...
I love running merch. Come visit me at the merch table.
Yeah. Appreciate you for that. All right. Well, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, Vintage Soul. If you don't know, it's kind of a sleeper on the album. You should go after you're done watching or listening to this podcast. If you're already on the YouTube, or if not, go to the YouTube and watch it. It's the only music video on there. It's the only video on my YouTube page currently that is not a featured presentation podcast. So it's easy to spot. And give it a watch. And watch all the other stuff on there, because Greg's had a hand in it as well. And I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for everything you do for me. Just everything. Listen to me go on rants about ideas, or texting you. We'll be in the middle of talking about something, and then I'll just like hit you with some stupid thing that I have, or whatever it is. Or I'm sending you pictures of like merch ideas or whatever. I appreciate you allowing me to just be annoying with that stuff. And I appreciate everything that you do as far as helping out with my music, behind the scenes or not behind the scenes. That's appreciative. I appreciate your friendship.
You're welcome. I love you so much.
I love you too.
And
we got matching tattoos.
And we got matching tattoos. Crew for life, baby.
That's right. Sea of Thieves, baby. Crew to Gary.
But yeah, I appreciate you letting me into this whole world. I think it's healthy for the both of us. Yeah, for sure. Like I was saying earlier, it's crazy to think what we're doing now opposed to what we're even doing a year ago, which is just like... Oh, I feel like every 6 months there's just like... That's huge. There's a build. Yeah. Keep that rolling. Yeah. Keep that snowball effect going. That's right. Well, this is the point where I say tell people where they can find you online, but nowhere. You can't find me, but please watch the music video. I would greatly appreciate it. Maybe one day I'll have Third Eye Wolf Productions YouTube page on its own, but I don't need that right now. He's a smart man. Go follow everything that this man does. It's all brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, that is the Feature Presentation Podcast. Thanks for letting us talk about old stuff instead of new stuff. And it's new to you, probably. Yeah, what's old is new. Exactly. And I'll see you on the next one. Joe Neat here. You look so good in that dress. I want to take it off.